There's a family bath in another area. That is not what family baths are for, but Lord Aints, it is not fair for you to give your affection only to them. That is right, quite right, said Sholtia, stopping Aura from breathing. The dark elf was just being dragged along. Her eyes were open, but they contained no light. Cocytus stood behind them, miffed. What kind of affection is taking a bath together? Albedo has been seriously weird lately. Ever since, could that be why she is so off the rails? Albedo, first let me say one thing. I like women better than men. I am purely heterosexual. Albedo was about to say something, but he raised a hand to stop her. In the future, who knows what kind of relationships we'll have. But right now, when our place in this world is uncertain, I can have relationships of that sort with any of you, as leader of the organization. Albedo's brow furiously furrowed. In the first place, you like the daughters of my best friends to me. It is a bit too complicated. I was wondering what you were doing standing around outside the entrance, and it appears you bothering Lord Aints. Sis is dead, I am not, came the retort from the lifeless girl. We've been waiting for you guys. Terribly sorry to be late. Perhaps our captain needs to learn to control her emotions. Demiurge's slit eyes were just slightly open. His gaze was clearly hostile. The atmosphere felt serious. It showed how frightening it was when someone who was usually so mild got angry. Cocytus followed suit and went on guard against Albedo. Albedo, as always, remained smiling. Perhaps her smile intensified. You fools, Aints roared despite himself. How dare you squabble among yourselves in front of me, you idiots. All the guardians shivered and dropped to one knee. Apologies, Lord Aints, it is fine. Stand up, everyone. Upon confirming they were all on their feet, he spoke in a mild tone, one he would use to reprove children. Stop bickering about stupid, pointless stuff. That sort of thing is what disappoints me the most. Got it? Hearing everyone's acknowledgement, Aints felt his anger completely disappear. Okay, let us take a bath and refresh. Men, come with me. Aura, I appoint you the observer of the women. Make sure those two don't try to pull anything stupid. Understood. A fire leaped into Aura's eyes. Perhaps she thought this was her chance to counterattack. Sholtia and Albedo couldn't conceal their alarm at the blazing heat wave. Aints went through the curtain that said men, choosing to ignore the clamorous voices he could hear behind him. He took off his clothes in the locker room. If he had come with his usual gear set, there would have been a lot to remove, but since he had prepared ahead of time, he could disrobe quickly. He threw off his clothes and walked forward. Whenever I am naked, I wonder how I managed to move. He was a skeleton with neither flesh nor muscle. According to Satoru Suzuki's common sense, he was impossible. Of course, in this world it was natural, so he just had to accept it. But questions like these still popped into his head from time to time. I am going in. Please wait. Mare ran over to him, buck naked. He may have been an exceedingly effeminate boy, but seeing him like this made it clear he was male. His build was that of a child, with basically no muscle. The fact that a body that would probably squish when poked could unleash so much power struck Aints as another one of this world's unfathomable laws. As he examined Mare's nakedness, thinking those things, he gave the boy a warning. Don't run in here. It is dangerous with the wet floor. A guardian couldn't die from slipping and cracking their head open, but Mare looked so much like a child Aints couldn't help but worry. Why yes sir, my apologies. Aints thought you don't have to apologize. Sorry to have kept you waiting. Demiurge and Cocytus appeared. Demiurge's body was toned and muscular, sleek. Even though the parts beneath his clothes couldn't be fully designed, with those muscles he definitely looked like the work of Albert. Nothing different about you, huh, Cocytus? Well, he is always naked. Could you please stop making me sound like a pervert? Sorry, you've got outer skin armor, so it is no wonder you always look the same. Outer skin armor was a type of bodily armament. As with Sholtia's nails and fangs, the hardness and resistance increased as the character leveled up. It also increased the amount of data crystals it could be augmented with. There were many pros to this sort of armor, including less gear swapping, simple repairs after being damaged by a weapon-breaking attack using any healing spell that recovered HP, and the assurance that it couldn't be dropped upon death. On the other hand, there were some cons as well. Its stats would never match up to the main gear of a player at the same level. Even a bodily armament at level 100 almost never reached God tier. Someone with a class that could acquire skills to boost bodily armaments could possibly push it to God tier, but ain't wasn't sure if it was really possible. For a player, that seemed like a lot of drawbacks, but for an NPC, it was a great option. With bodily armaments, they didn't require a ton of different gear. This meant less work for the player who created them. Thank you, Cocytus bowed. It wasn't as if he had said it to defend him, but is he being tormented or messed with over this so much that it warrants a thank you? Maybe I should say something to the others. Is this what a teacher feels like when there's bullying going on in the class? Aints wondered how Yameko felt as he called to members of the men's bath group. Okay, let us go. Aints led the way into the baths. The large facility was divided into 12 areas. First were the baths themselves. The largest was the jungle bath. Then there was the atmospheric ancient Roman bath, the yuzu bath, the carbonated bath, the jet bath, the electric bath featuring a low-level current that caused a full-body tingling sensation, a cold bath with charcoal floating in it, the Cherenkov bath with its mysterious light caused by who knew what, and the mixed-sex outdoor bath though the scenery was artificial. Besides that, there was also a sauna, a hot stone spa area, and finally the recreation room. So where should we go? I'd like to hear your suggestions. I find the cold bath a tempting choice. I would like to introduce you to the delights of a cold bath, Lord Aints. Aints had resistance to chill, so getting into a freezing cold bath wouldn't bother him, but going to the cold bath first seemed wrong. Cocytus, we came here for a relaxing soak. Cocytus realized what the issue was once Mare voiced an objection. Another comment followed. We came to soak, so we should probably choose a warm bath that will improve our circulation. Oh wait, I should probably ask, can you go in hot water? You want tea cook like a lobster or something? No problem. My exoskeleton provides fire resistance, despite you all calling me naked. He chuckled proudly. So in that case I think a normal bath would be fine. The cold bath is the best. It feels great if you go in hugging a block of ice. I want to say it's only you, but it has to be a very tiny minority who enjoy that. Well, this won't be any fun if we all go separate ways. Let us just head around to each bath in turn. We can start with the normal jungle one. My friend worked really hard on creating it. Everyone said they were looking forward to it, although Cocytus sounded a bit forlorn, and Aints led them to the jungle bath. The jungle was thick with artificial flora. Though he knew it was fake, it seemed so real that a monster would come crawling out at any moment. This bath is based on a place that used to really exist, the Amazon River. Believer helped Blue Planet build it. The Guardians were impressed. Aints took a pail and bath stool into the washing area ahead of them. While all the pails in this spa yellow, he heard it's traditional, but maybe it's just the standard color. This goes without saying, but you need to wash before you get in the bath. The way I wash myself gets stuff everywhere, though, so you guys should keep your distance. With that, he dumped the pail of hot water over his head. The liquid dropped surprisingly quickly through his body and splashed hard on the floor. Since he was full of gaps, it was really hard to get his body wet with just one pailful. After a few more, he was finally wet all over, so he took out the brush he had brought along. He squirted a generous amount of liquid soap on it and began scrubbing. Once again, due to the gaps in his body, he might as well have been scrubbing a colander. Bubbles went flying everywhere. Yeah. I should have brought my cute little bath buddy Sankichi. He didn't want his subordinates to see him covered in goop, so he hadn't brought the slime along. He hadn't washed himself in a while, and it was quite a pain. As Aints was scrubbing with all his might, Mare approached with a yellow stool in one hand. He seemed nervous, but his face, flushed from the heat of the bath, gave Aints a smile. Lord Aints, I'll wash your back. Oh, I see. You'll wash it for me. But my body is such a pain. Use the brush. It'll be too hard to do with a cloth. Aints turned his back and Mare slowly began to scrub. Hey, you're pretty good at this. Thank you. Really, he had no standards for good or bad, but his gratitude toward Mare inspired him to say that. When Aints looked to see how the other two were doing okay, then I'll wash your back. Much obliged. He couldn't help but smile ear to ear, not that his skull had ears. The great tomb of Nazarick is the best place there is. He smiled even more when he heard the boy's voice behind him saying, okay, so I washed that spot. Thanks, Mare. Next I'll wash your back. Come on. Aints grabbed the flustered boy's shoulders and whirled him around. Then he grabbed his towel and put soap on it. He rubbed carefully so it wouldn't hurt, aiming for a less forceful version of the way he washed himself. It doesn't hurt, does it? I am all right. After washing Mare's bizarrely stiff back, he handed the towel back to him. You can do the front yourself, right? Oh, of course. Aints picked up his brush and began working on his ribs, careful not to spatter Mare. I'll be inside. Demiurge, having finished washing, headed for the bath, his tail swaying. Next was Cocytus, whose body was probably second to only Aints' in difficulty to wash, but since he could use 4 arms, it didn't take so long. After that, of course, was Mare. Aints didn't finish until a few minutes after everyone else. The bath was fairly large, and water poured out of the mouths of quite detailed lion statues. The air was hot. As he waded through the steam, he noticed Cocytus slightly off to one side. The other two were soaking together, having secured a reasonable amount of personal space. This feels great. Aints had the idea that kids usually swam around in the bathwater, but Mare just relaxed with his towel on his head. Seeing the boy act like a tired adult, he was shocked. The Guardian's jobs must be seriously exhausting. Yeah, it feels almost like the tiredness gets rinsed out of your core. Demiurge had taken off his glasses. He cupped some water and poured it over his face with a sigh, like a middle-aged man. It is so hot, huh? Wait, I thought you said you had resistance. I do, but I never go to such hot places, so I am not used to it. Still, that is no excuse to use your chill aura. Please don't come over here. A bath is more comfortable when it is hot. Aints realized why Cocytus was off on his own. The area in his vicinity was probably only lukewarm. You have flame resistance, so maybe it is good for you, Demiurge, but the cold bath isn't bad either, you know. Not interested. Besides, I turned down my resistance to enjoy this. Don't you have the strength to withstand a little pain? That is a pretty dull challenge coming from you, Demiurge, but I like it. Cut it out. We ray in the bath to have fun. If you want to test each other's endurance, go to the sauna. You don't have to soak in here if it is not fun for you. Mare, whose face was beaded with sweat, let out a steamy sigh. Look, that is how you enjoy a bath. Mare, get out if you start cooking. I am all right, Lord Aints. I'll use magic if I need to. That is sort of missing the point too, thought Aints, but he didn't say so. Instead, he looked over at Demiurge. Do you think you should bathe if you have to use resistance? Isn't that one way to do it, Lord Aints? You don't overheat because you ray an undead, right? That strikes me as sort of the same thing. You ray right. He could feel the warmth seeping into his body, but it didn't feel as good as it did when he was human. I guess there are pluses and minuses to being undead. As he was lamenting his lost happiness, he looked up and around the steamy bath. What is it, my lord? I thought I heard someone call my name, maybe from next door. Cocytus pointed at the wall he was leaning against. Over there is the women's bath, I see. But aren't those walls supposed to be pretty thick? Maybe the voices are louder due to the echo. Aints focused his ears in spite of himself. He didn't have any untoward purpose. He was simply curious as to what the women talked about when they were alone. So he didn't do anything unbecoming of the ruler of the great tomb of Nazareth, like press his ear up against the wall. Instead, he moved away from the wall and lingered across from it. Albedo, you have a lot of hair down there. Aints frowned at the conversation he heard. Aura, don't make it sound so weird. Lord Aints must be just over this wall. I wonder if there is a peephole. Aints earnestly scanned the wall, suddenly worried someone had included some kind of pervy prank. During one period, the members of the guild really got into making that sort of thing. There was a good chance some kind of gimmick was left over from those days. Isn't it usually the other way around? Lord Aints would never do that. If he wanted to see them, all he had to do was order them to show him, so there was no need to peep. Oh, for once you said something that made sense, Sholtia. For once, how rude. But hey, is that a toothbrush? I wish you wouldn't brush or wash in the water. I can help it. It is so hard for me to wash. I can really only manage it in a big bathtub like this. He heard Albedo's voice from a slightly elevated position. Then he heard a loud brushing noise. I see what you mean. I guess it is fine then. Thanks. Don't stare like that. It is creepy. You are not going to brush, Sholtia? I brush normally in my room, so there is no need. Speaking of which, though, is it even possible for us to get cavities? Even if we can kissing with stinky breath could cool a love that blazed for 100 or even 1,000 years. The brushing stopped, and he heard someone moving around. What? Are you going in like that? At least there was a huge splash. The sound of the water sloshing around could be heard. She must have jumped in quite energetically. Garg, Sholtia coughed. If I were a vampire from a story, I would have sunk in the running water. Simone, you are not a kid. Don't jump. Tee-hee-hee. This feels so good. We should come here more often. Maybe if you learn proper bathing etiquette. What? Huh, the lion moved. If you don't know the etiquette, you aren't qualified to take a bath. This is an execution. At the sudden male voice, Aints and the others all looked at one another. That sounded like a man just now. Is there a bathhouse domain guardian we didn't know about? But I can believe there would be a man in the women's bath. No, I've heard this voice before. It's Lucifer. Hearing the troublemaker's voice reminded Aints of various problems he'd caused. Honestly, he didn't care for the guy. A supreme being? Really? It's hard. That's no mere iron golem. Albedo, die golem craft garbage. Something slammed into the wall with tremendous force. A loud bang followed. The blow even shook the walls of the men's bath. I guess we should arm ourselves and get ready to charge into the women's bath. The guardians didn't seem very keen on that order. If friendly fire weren't a concern, it would have been only a joke. But under their current circumstances, it could really end up becoming a fight to the death. Moreover, they were vulnerable with their gear off. There was a distinct possibility they would require rescuing. Next time, I want to have a more leisurely soak, Aints murmured as he waded through the water to the changing room. The guardians all nodded.